Hey, welcome back into another segment of Mindset Monday with me, Matt. These are episodes where I share with you what it was like over the last nearly 13 years and the wisdom that came with getting sober and staying that way and rebuilding my marriage, becoming a better husband, a better father, a better friend, a better professional, just becoming a better man. These are the episodes that I think really extract the most important lessons here, some of the most important topics, whether that's how to grow up and how to face your fears and overcome shame and some of the trials that come with being a sober person in the world, or reestablishing trust in a relationship. Like, there's a million things we talk about here, all of which are relevant to you, the listener. If you have found a piece of our content, you're in the right place. So whether you're a guy that's trying to do what I did, or you're a spouse or a partner who's trying to gain a better understanding of not just yourself, but your partner as well, and maybe developing some answers to the questions that you've had forever about them. While I am not your partner, and I'm also not a therapist or psychology professional, I am someone that's been there, and I've worked with a ton of people through it. And I don't think that everything I say is ridiculous, even though some of it might be. And so if you're here, you're probably in the right place. And thanks for being here. I want to get something out of the way first. We have a website, twfo.com. That's tufo.com, where you can find out about everything that we offer. Like our free Facebook community, totally free for spouses and partners of people that struggle with addiction. This is your clubhouse. This is your place to collaborate and get questions answered, to feel heard, to feel like you're not alone, to get validation, probably from the most amazing community that exists on the face of the planet. And it's totally free for you, the listeners. Go to our website. You can navigate the community button up there and find out how to join. Just answer a few questions. The most important of them is, how do we greet listeners? And it's going to be welcome to Mindset Monday, or welcome back, or hey, y'all, if you listen to Paige's Friday episodes. We just need to know that you're a listener. We don't want people who are in there from random social media apps who saw a 2-second video and they just want to join and they don't really understand what it is we're trying to do here. We're not like a 12-step group. We are not a faith group. We are a group of people who are trying to get better in a million different ways. And it's an amazing group of people, and there's a lot of wisdom in there. And I don't think there's anything else like it. And it's completely free for you, the listener. There's also merch on that website. If you love the show and you want to rock the show, we've got hoodies, we've got water bottles, we've got stickers, we've got t-shirts, you name it. If you think our merch is ugly, but you do want to support our mission here, you can go to our social media profile and click the link tree. And there's a buy me a coffee link. If you just want to give us $5 for a cup of coffee to help contribute to the show's expenses, we would appreciate that so much. You have no idea. It means everything. Really, it does, that you're willing to give your hard-earned dollars to us to pour back into this content. We've never paid ourselves $1 from till the wheels fall off, and everything that we've ever gotten goes straight back into the content to make it better, more accessible for you, the listener. Or if you don't want to give us anything and you just want to listen, that's totally fine too. We love you all the same. But check out our website to navigate more of that stuff. We've got a program called Reclaiming You as well that is purpose-built for spouses and partners. It's Paige really leading this charge, and I'm involved as well, and our clinical architect, Dr. Christopher Taylor. This thing is amazing. It's for spouses and partners as a way to reclaim their identity. One of the things that people see whether someone's gotten sober or not, is that they don't feel like themselves anymore. It's because you've had to adjust and make yourself smaller in a million different ways to deal with someone who is addicted, and everything that comes with that, and the emotional immaturity and all the problems and the fights that come with it. You get lost and you forget who you were. We do our best to help you rediscover that. And it's got a community that meets on Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Central. Paige and I are usually in that meeting, if not one of us, both of us. Rarely do we have to not be there, but the meeting's always open for people who are students in the community. And it's incredible. You can find out more about that going to our website or reclaiming-u.com. Speaking of Reclaiming You, the first person that ever purchased it actually is hosting a free yoga event tonight in our community. So this is another benefit of the community. There's free community calls where people can collaborate and understand, feel heard, get feedback. We encourage crosstalk. We encourage collaboration. But there's also awesome things, like every so often someone wants to give back, and a free yoga session. Like, how awesome is that? Like, a talented practitioner and teacher of yoga is going to be walking wheelies through this. She's a wheelie herself. It's the coolest thing in the world. You know who you are. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for this community. It's incredible. We love you and thank you. It's just another awesome benefit. This is what it looks like when people are just giving back for no reason at all, just to give back. They feel good. Others feel good. It's a cool experience. Help you grow. If you've never done it before, I think it's even better. Just give it a shot, man. freaking cool. I don't know how often she's doing these, but I think it's just highlight some of the cool stuff that takes place in there. It's so sick. I love it. Today's episode, I want to cover a few different things, man. One of them being, maybe it's a me thing, but I think it's a you thing as well. Like being a social media creator, you come across some wild things in the comment section sometimes. Like, and for the record, we never wanted to make videos. We wanted to make a podcast, and I never wanted to do a video podcast. I thought it was weird. Like, who wants to watch people talk? And no offense if you're watching me talk, but I didn't consume podcasts that way. I've been listening to podcasts for like 10 years, and it was always just like in my car or in my headphones. And I love audio and like the theater of the mind that comes from listening to someone tell stories or talk about things. It's just, I don't know. I just always got more from that. But people love video. And if you want to be seen and you want your message to reach the people that need it, you got to make video these days. And so we started to make videos, and then we had videos that did like well on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And you get a lot of people that discover you that way. And it's a great way to grow the show. And it's a great way to get the message out to people that need it, but it's also a way to attract weirdos. And so that happens sometimes. And I posted a video recently about taking accountability in my role for my wife's behaviors. Like, in being addicted and immature and for all those years, like she developed patterns as a result of dealing with me that didn't just stop the day I got sober. And I was talking about how I didn't get mad at her for those things. I held space for those things, and I had to take responsibility and understand that as much as I may dislike them, they were a result of my behaviors. So if I want to get mad at someone, I can get mad at myself over this kind of stuff. It was a normal video, like whatever, but a comment showed up, and it was this guy who was more or less chastising me for changing for my wife. He was like, why is it that men always have to change? Like, I was good enough to marry, and now all of a sudden I have to change. And it just kind of short-circuited my brain. I was like, what the hell? Like, this is either a bot or just a weirdo. As it turns out, this is a really, really commonly held notion by a lot of guys, that they think when women ask them to change over the course of their relationship, what they're saying is that, like, you're not good enough. And then they'll say things like, you knew who I was when you married me. Like, you knew what you were getting yourself into. The hell they did, man. I'm going to break this down and talk about how stupid this is. And if you're one of these guys that thinks this way, just listen. I'm going to present a really rational argument for why this is stupid. And I need you to just hear me out. Please hear me out. I'm going to talk about shame as well. Shame is something I think prevents a lot of people from growing and changing and getting better, because it's such a powerful emotion, and it's really easy to sink back into and think that you're fundamentally broken and that there's something wrong with you. And it makes it really hard to do something different. I'm going to talk about how I framed shame and some other really awesome topics. Stick around. This one's going to be a good one. I'm going to try to get through this thing. My back is aching, and so I can't sit here very long anyway. And so let's get right into it. So this idea, you knew who I was when you married me. Why are you now asking me to change? Is quite possibly the dumbest thing that I have ever heard in my entire life, for a few reasons. Like, it assumes kind of underneath it all that we are finished products at the moment that we meet. And think about when you met. Like, I met my wife when I was 14 years old. Have you ever met a 14-year-old boy? Like, imagine thinking that what she's signing up for on that day is what she will also require and what our lives will need whenever we're 40. Think about it for a minute. Okay, I hope you've thought about that and how dumb it would be to think that you're supposed to be the same person. All right. Also, it's assumed in life that if there's anything guaranteed in life, it's change, right? They say it's death and taxes. It's also change. Things will change in life. Things change. Things out of your control will happen today, tomorrow. They've already happened to you, and you know what I'm talking about. And as a result of that, we often have to adapt and evolve. It is built into us to evolve and adapt. That is how we've survived as a species. That is how we've survived our most difficult moments. We didn't just stay still. We adapted and we evolved. So I think that we're already completely disregarding these well-known facts about life that I know that everyone knows. So then what is it that guys are trying to say? I'm going to do my best to answer that, because I've never been one of these types. Let me get some water real quick. Excuse me. Now I'm going to choke on it. Oh my God. Such a polished creator over here. Sorry, y'all. But anyway, first of all, this stuff doesn't come up unprompted. Like, your wife is not just going to look at you one day and be like, you know what? I wish I married someone else. That's not what they're saying at all. That is not what they're saying. They have obviously chosen you for a reason. For some reason. They have seen something amazing in you, whether you're hilarious or maybe you're just tall, dark, and handsome. I don't know. That you're a caring father, that you're empathetic, that you've got really interesting insights, that you're a perfect balance to their kind of like their emotional state on any given day. Like there are reasons, right? You are good enough. I want to start by saying that. But just because you were good enough then doesn't mean that we don't have to adjust over time. And so when guys say this stuff, it's usually in response to their wife telling them something like, I just don't feel connected to you anymore. Or I feel like I'm carrying everything and you haven't changed. Or this dynamic just isn't working for me. Or I need more emotional presence from you. And you feel like they've changed the contract or something like that. Like at some point they changed and you didn't, and you think that it's a bad thing that they changed, and you think that you not changing is like that's a good thing. And that's a real bad thing, guys. It's a bad thing. Granted, there's good change and bad change, maybe. Like depends. Like, did you change going from like monogamous to all of a sudden you want to be a swinger? Like, yeah, maybe a pretty substantial material change is not going to work in the relationship that you both signed up for. But we're not talking about that stuff. We're talking about once you have children and how the dynamics of a relationship change, or the needs of you change, or different places in your lives. Maybe you're empty nesters now, that you're no longer children, right? And you can't just sit around with no responsibilities, that you have to grow up, and that is going to require a different version of you showing up. And so I think what people are saying here, for women, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the version of you that worked in one season of our lives is no longer sufficient. And I think that that's fair. Even if that's a little harsh, I think that's fair. The version of you that worked in that season of our lives is not sufficient for this new season of our lives, because there are seasons in life. Call it what you want, but things change. You will have children. You might lose your job, move to a different place. You get older. Maybe you have health scares, whatever it might be. But that is a different season of your life. And it's going to require a different version of you. Man, I think that that's only normal and rational. And what they're saying is they're challenging you. Like God bless that you have someone in your life that cares enough to say something before they just depart, that they're saying something to you. And I can't understand or fathom why this would bring such anger. And the argument that comes out is interesting, because at face value for most people who have common sense anyway, it's a really stupid argument, because literally no area of life works this way. Not one. Not your job, not your health, nothing. Everything requires evolution and change. Why would you think that this is the one? And I think that what's underneath it is this freeze frame fallacy that a lot of men have, is that you married me like this. Like, you agreed to be with me forever because I was like this. And I think that I don't know what you would call it. I think there's a misunderstanding about what that means. Like that it's like as if your personality and you, it's like you're captured in a moment in time. But relationships are a process. They're not a snapshot, you know? Like when they're saying I do, they're also projecting out and looking at all the qualities that you have and who you could be in 10 to 20 years. I'm a baseball fan. I'm really big in baseball. And when kids get drafted out of high school, they're not saying like, they're not going to go play in the major leagues the next day. What they're saying is this person has the makings of being an amazing ball player in 5 to 7 years. It's projectability, right? And so oftentimes when we get married, what we see is like right now, they have the bones of an amazing person that I am in love with, but also the amazing bones of a great father and husband and friend one day. Someone that we can care for each other when we're old, someone I can share my life with, like that I can cry with and celebrate with. And like, you're not just thinking about right now. So that is wild that you would think that right now is what cements you like forever, that you think you never have to requalify like you do in every other aspect of your life. But this thought that you married me like this assumes on a few things. And I think it's because you were good enough in the beginning that you'll always be good enough. And that attraction is a guarantee that is kind of built into that agreement of marriage, or that adaptation and evolution are optional. This assumption exists literally nowhere else in life. And yet some people believe that intimacy should be exempt from this reality. And it makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. Qualification is ongoing. It is everywhere. You qualify, whether you realize it or not, to get into your relationship in the very first place. You qualify to get your job, and you also qualify to keep your job based on the things that you are doing. Here's what breaks my brain about a lot of men is that you put it in terms of career and suddenly it all makes sense. And they're like, that's interesting. But they think that the relationship should be exempt from it. Like, let's think about your career. My guess is that you've worked your ass off and you have moved up and you are someone's boss, and it didn't start that way. How did it get that way? You had to show up and change and show that you could take on different responsibilities and become someone different. To become a leader in that organization, you had to start at the bottom and work your way up, right? It required a different version of you. It's the same exact principle. It's the same exact principle. I just don't know why we thought that we would be exempt from this, or why we would want to be exempt from it. Like, aren't you more proud of yourself now? Like, sure, maybe it requires more work and effort and it's stressful sometimes, but aren't you more proud of yourself for all of the things that you earned along the way? Like, relationships are the same way, right? We have to qualify to be trusted by people, to lead people, to parent well. And qualification is not just some one-time event, guys. Like, think about even professionals, right? They have to requalify after a certain period of time. Like, as a CPA, for instance, like, you have to retake like gap standards and protocols every so many years because laws change. Life changes. You have to adapt so you can serve your clients. Doctors and mental health professionals are always having to recertify and like the newest tech or the new procedures that the market wants. Like, this is the stuff you have to do in life. It is, you never just get to qualify and give up. It doesn't work that way. It's not like a lifetime guarantee that everything will be perfect because you were good on day one. Day one was just like the entry point. That's all it is. So like, if you stop qualifying at work, you're going to get fired. You know it and I know it. So why wouldn't there be some kind of a relationship tension if you stopped qualifying in your relationship? It just makes sense to me. And so if you want to be mad at someone about this, look in the mirror. Put a Post-it note on your mirror that says, I am looking at the problem. Do me that favor. I had a friend that did that, actually. Good friend of mine in recovery. And that's what he would do. He would have to remind himself he was generally the problem. He was the common denominator in every issue he ever had. But I think if you stop qualifying physically, for instance, like, your body will start to degrade over time. You have to keep showing up differently in different aspects of your life. As you get older, things will change. Your hormones will change. Your needs of your body will change. Love works the same way. I think just perhaps a bit slower. Like, it doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes slowly when someone stops qualifying. And this should not come as a shock or surprise to anyone. But I think that I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I think spouses, like women, I'll just say women, right? Women generally buy low when they look at like us and they're choosing a mate. Like, I know that for Paige, for instance, like when she met me, I was, maybe she looked at me like a diamond in the rough, right? And I was rough. I was 14 years old. I had blonde frosted tips. I was a little out of shape, but I was a sweet kid and I was funny. And I was, I had huge dreams for what I wanted to do with my life. And I was caring and I wanted to be a father, like a present father one day. And I think what she saw was like, wow, like, this is someone that not only do I want to be with right now, this is someone I could see myself with for a long period of time. And I think that your spouse probably did the very same thing for you, guy listening. I think that that's generally what women are doing. And I wonder if it's different for men, man. I was thinking about this. Like, is it different for men when we look at relationships? Are we just looking at the immediacy? Like, are we just looking at some of the surface level things? And like, I think about that. Like, when I met my wife, and it's tough because we were 14. Like, I'm not going to fault a 14-year-old for not knowing like the wisdom that they should gain over the course of their lifetime. But like, in the beginning, and friends I know that are dating and things like that, like, what are they looking for? I know that guys are generally more interested in looks, right? So maybe in some ways, like, we're subliminally projecting out, like, will they still be attractive in 20 years? I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. But are we thinking about the quality of like partner that they'll be? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that might be an afterthought for a lot of guys as they start to look outward at their spouse, like 20 years projecting, like, is this someone that I'm sensing like some major like instability with, or like, are they calm and rational when it comes to disagreements and that sort of thing? I don't know. Maybe we're just not looking at this stuff as hard, but women look at it really hard. And so you need to understand that, like, you're not just being held to the standard you were on day one. You're being held to a standard of projectability over the course of your life. There's an assumption I think that a lot of women make and rightfully so, that we will grow up and we will mature and we'll adapt to responsibility, because that is what people do, man. That shouldn't be a shock to anyone. And I think this is very common sense to women, because historically women have had to change far more than men. And maybe this is my bro science hypothesis for why this is so prevalent from guys. This idea that I shouldn't have to change. I was good enough on day one. Why are you asking me to be someone else? I'm not. Because I think women historically have had to change. Like, think about pregnancy and childbirth, for instance. Like, the moment that Paige got pregnant, her life changed, like in an instant, like just boom. I have to grow up. I am no longer an adolescent. I am no longer a kid. I can no longer take things not seriously. The things I used to just disregard, I have to take seriously now, like her health and her sleep schedule. And it wasn't just about her, it was about other people. She had to learn how to not be selfish anymore at a pretty young age. I don't think that guys have to do that nearly as much. I'm sure there are some outliers, but on the whole, I'm comfortable saying that women have to learn how to be unselfish much earlier than men do. And part of it is because if you've had children, that's day one stuff, right? When that baby is born, it needs you. You don't get to go out and party anymore. You have a child that needs you. You have to breastfeed in the middle of the night. Your sleep is sacrificed. Your needs are put aside for something else, for someone else. And so it's just really natural. I think if you look at women historically in the workplace over the last 50 to 70 years, they had to come in and they had to really change who they were in order to survive in that world. Things have changed and they've modernized, and it's easier now than it was, say, 50 years ago. But still, I think that's kind of understood by a lot of women. And I think when you look at the emotional labor that takes in handling those changes and how to process that stuff emotionally, they're just better at that because they had to deal with it. They did not have a choice in it. They had to deal with it. And so there's this identity reshaping, I think, that women go through much sooner as their fun years end rather abruptly and they become a mother, professional, or they have to make compromises when it comes to their career. Like, life gets a lot more serious for women. And so when they say, I need more from you now, they're not asking anything of you that they have not already done themselves. It is not an unreasonable ask to any woman that asks this from a man. And that is why, because they've done this. Look at how their life has changed. And most of them take it in stride, right? And so when they look at you and they ask for a little more and you reply, why am I not good enough anymore? You knew I was like this whenever you married me. Why are you suddenly asking me to be someone that I'm not? Like, you knew this about me. What you're really saying is, I did not realize that I would be expected to evolve too, or I would have never signed up for this. That's kind of what you're saying in a shithead way, that I thought you would keep adapting to me in some ways, like they are there to serve you or something, or that I thought qualification, like requalifying, ended whenever we made the commitment. And like, that is not betrayal. That is not them saying that you are not good enough. I think that is just common sense. And it's blows my mind why so many guys have this argument. And I am open to hearing if there's something more to this. If you are a guy listening and you are like beating your dashboard right now, like, no, he doesn't understand this. This is what we're talking about. Shoot me an email. I'm open to listening. It's Matt, M-A-T-T, at twfocouple.com. And for anyone who ever wants to shoot me an email, if you've got an episode idea or something like that, shoot it to me, man. I'm very interested in hearing from you guys. And I read basically everything for the most part. Maybe not right away, but I'll get to it, put them in a folder, and I'll get back to that stuff. But anyway, let me know if I'm missing something. But I think why this belief feels fair to guys, but it isn't, is because it sounds principled. I think that guys almost think this is noble, that they haven't changed. Like, they think it shows their loyalty and their authenticity and their integrity. It's like, I am the same person then that I am today. And that means I'm predictable and I am stable and I am consistent. And they think that it's a good thing. But underneath it, what it really is ego protection and immaturity and this fear of inadequacy, I think, coming out. I think it's also the avoidance of effort. I think it's the avoidance of grief over lost potential as well. Like, realizing you could have been doing better all this time. And there's a certain amount of grieving that comes with that, or maybe just some strange feelings about that. But what it really does, it externalizes responsibility without sounding selfish, because it is selfish, but you're just trying not to sound selfish by blaming someone else while you're being so noble and remaining unchanged. But it just takes a me problem and it makes it a you problem. That's what you're doing. Instead of recognizing that it is a me problem, this is me, I need to change, you're making it a them problem by calling out this rather ridiculous red herring. This is a red herring, right? You are making this about something that it is fundamentally not. This is about change and evolution in a relationship, and you are trying to make it about loyalty or like this stagnation case that I should have always been good enough for you because you committed to me. That is ridiculous. It sounds like loyalty and like fortitude and stability and consistency, but it's not. It is like those things are a veil for a massive issue underneath that is immaturity and a reluctance to evolve and adjust. And it is also the sure sign that you are with someone that has a fixed mindset about life in general. And it's really, really hypocritical. And this is the fun part for me, because you can stab this in a million different ways. Ask any guy, where does this logic hold up elsewhere in your life? Because I know it's not at work. Telling your boss, why should I improve? Why should I change? Imagine getting like a new system or a new machine at work that you have to learn. Like, dude, you knew who I was the day you hired me, and you knew I only do this. You would be fired so fucking fast. They wouldn't even think twice about it. Like, get out. It is inherently built in that when you are hired, you grow with the business. And as things change, you adapt. And if you want to move up, you have to do that as well. Like, imagine telling your boss, I was good enough then. Why am I not good enough now? Their eyes would go cross. They wouldn't even know how to respond. They would probably just ask you to pack your shit and leave. Imagine like talking to a doctor, like, and getting mad at him that the same things that kept you healthy at 17 don't work at 47. Like, dude, you cannot eat Taco Bell every night. Like, we all figured this out when we turned like 30, did we not? Like, there used to be like every group of guys had that friend that just stayed lean no matter what they did. And we all said, like, it'll catch up with them one day, just wait, because it catches up with everyone. And eventually one day that guy gets like the ultimate dad bod. And it's like, yeah, you figured it out. It's affecting your health now. Things have changed. Father time is undefeated. And what worked then does not work now. We have to change and adapt and evolve. Maybe you're like me and you're getting gray hair and you're aging and you're taking different types of vitamins and supplements because your body needs different things because circumstances have freaking changed. This is applicable in your health. Imagine parenting. Like the day we brought our daughter home. Imagine being like, this is the kind of parent I am, man. I change diapers and I give them bottles. That's it. But my daughter's coming home now with algebra and boy problems and drama at school and questions about life in college. And it requires a different type of parent to show up. And I've had to evolve and change and adapt with that. Duh. What about in friendships? Like, imagine telling your friend, like, why would you ever expect me to be reliable? Like, you knew that I was flaky to begin with whenever they're upset about you, like flaking out on something. Because it's assumed that we change in life, that everyone wants to do better. Like, you're basically saying, I want to be immune from having to do better. And what a dumb effing notion that is. It is just insane to me. Just crazy. But I think why it feels like betrayal to a lot of guys whenever they are challenged like this is what I think is happening, my guess anyway, that they can't quite communicate adequately or that makes sense, is when someone holds up that mirror and they ask you to change, it's a threat to their identity. It's saying like the rules have been rewritten and I didn't get the message and I'm not good enough in some ways and I'm inadequate and I have to grow up. Like, they hear that you're behind or that you're not enough or that somehow you've failed. And instead of asking what's being asked of me right now, they defend it with, I was already enough, which is total horseshit. Maybe even if it's true that at one time you were enough, we were kids, dude. That was before things changed. And like, everyone seemed to have changed except for you. And so there are a ton of guys out there that struggle with this. And I don't know what we do about this. I really don't, man. There's this like really, I don't know, man. It's horrible. Like, there's like the male loneliness epidemic, you know, like there are a lot of men that are struggling right now and they're alone. And is that all women's fault? No, it's not. Like, this stuff is brought on in some ways by us, you know, and by us. We could get into some really interesting conversations about the education system and how that doesn't exactly benefit men the same ways it benefits women. But at the end of the day, like, you adapt or die, and we have to adapt and we have to take responsibility for our role in our own suffering. And this is where we could start. in thinking that we were always supposed to be enough and that we're too good to change and that we don't know how to process shame. And so we'd rather just blame other people than do something about it. Like, that's insane to me. It should hurt a little bit. It should. We're supposed to be changing, man. It's also, I think that it's a really immature way of looking at love. Like adolescent love, like when you first get together, it's like, you say things that are applicable and at that time period, but certainly you don't want to be held to for the rest of your life. Like you're perfect exactly the way you are. Like, true now, but maybe not true forever. If you married someone who like smokes weed every night and they drink with their friends on the weekends, or they play golf for 4 hours on Saturdays, like that is not going to be the case whenever you have children and they have to be in two places at the same time and you need help and you're drowning as a parent who feels like they're a single parent. Like that is not true anymore, man. Adolescent love says, don't challenge me. It says love means comfort. And I think that adult love means, like, you say messages like, help me become more capable, challenge me, call me out, call me forward. Don't let me just rot over here. And a lot of people just haven't matured to the level where they're ready to have those kinds of conversations. Refusal to change is loyalty to your ego, not to your partner, to your relationship. For as much as you want to say that you're loyal, who are you loyal to? You're loyal to yourself. You're not being loyal to your family. You're not being loyal to your wife. You're not being loyal to anyone but yourself and your ego, your fragile little ego that refuses to be challenged and wants to stay exactly the way it is. And God forbid you've done something wrong, right? And so I think the real question here is not why am I not good enough anymore? It's ask yourself if you are still qualifying for the life and relationship that you are in right now. Have you qualified? Because life will keep asking you that question, whether you like it or not. Get used to it. You don't have to like it, but you have to accept it. This is a fact of life. This is a fact of life. That idea of qualifying time and time again. And I think about the ways that my relationship and my life have changed. Like when we first got together, again, I was a kid, 14 years old. I was playing guitar in a band. And the reason I did that, by the way, because I was always an athlete. And I thought that, if I want to get a girlfriend, I'm going to have to be good at football or baseball. That's the only chance I have, because I was not a cute kid. So I had to be a good athlete. And then when I broke my leg really bad, that's how I initially got introduced to addiction and substances. I got addicted for the first time at like 12, prescription opioids because of an injury. But I started playing guitar because I was like, well, I can't play sports. I'm going to have to find a way to meet a girl and I'm going to have to start playing guitar. And it worked. That's how I met Paige. She was interested because I was like this rambunctious punk rock kid. And, I think about the kind of kid I was back then and like what she saw in me. And I was sweet and kind and I was fun and alternative and just, very different than her. And I think that she also saw inside of me that I could be this awesome dude one day. And I always thought that I would grow up. I thought that maybe I watched too many movies, man. I always thought that I would just grow out of all this addiction and immaturity and struggling in my marriage. I thought that, whenever I graduated from college, I would just get it together. And then that came and went and I didn't change. And I thought that when we got married, I would just grow up. Like I thought it would just happen. I didn't think I would have to work at it. I thought it would just happen. And we got married, nothing changed. And the big one for me was kids. I thought that when our daughter was born, I would just like hold her for the first time. And all of this knowledge and like responsibility and wisdom and like calmness would just come to me and I would know who I was supposed to be. And it came and went and I didn't change. Part of this was addiction. Part of this was just me and being stubborn and not knowing how and not wanting to grow up. I wanted to get by with as little as possible. I was selfish. I wanted to do me. I didn't want to give up smoking weed with my buddies. I didn't want to give up drinking. I didn't want to give up playing video games all night. I didn't want to give up being selfish with my time. I wanted to be me. It was a commitment to me and my ego more than it was my family. And so for all the people, all the guys that want to preach, I'm loyal, and they act like that's some kind of thing to like hang their hat on, who are you being loyal to when you refuse to change for your life and your wife and your children? You're being loyal to yourself and your ego and not the people that really matter in your life. So you want to be a leader, go be a leader. That's what leaders do. They don't sit on their ass and blame other people for their problems. That I do know. All right. I want to take an exit off of this one real quick. And something that's probably come up underneath the surface of that first piece was shame. I think that shame also prevents people from dealing with this stuff. I think that that very response to I need more from you, and why am I not, why do I have to change? Am I not good enough? Like, that's shame talking in a lot of ways. And I think that there are two camps of shame and ways that we can look at shame. I've gone back and forth with these people on the internet too. I wouldn't even call them extremes, but there's one camp of shame that says that shame is an awful thing. It is a horrible place to be. And we cannot allow people to feel shame, because if they do, it will cause them to slip further into the oblivion that they are currently in. Think about addiction, right? If we shame people that have addiction and we make it harder for them to get help, what are they most likely to do? Feel shame, use more, which causes these situations to come up more that they will get shamed for. And it's just like this spiral, you know? So I understand fully how shame can be a bad thing, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad word. I think shame has amazing utility. I think shame is a really, really useful tool that drives change, and it mobilizes to act, and it helps us run from the version of us that created the shameful feeling to begin with. So you're either a person, I think, generally, that thinks that we shouldn't feel shame and we shouldn't bring shame upon others. I'm not saying you should not shit on people. That is not nice, to just beat people's ass every chance you get. Like, if you're at that stage of your relationship, split up. You ain't coming back from that. If it feels good to shit on somebody, it's probably cooked, probably totaled. You can try. You make some therapists very rich, but man, if we're at that point, like, that's bad. That is terrible human behavior, to just want to hurt someone, to make them feel shame. There's also this other version of shame that I said it's like a really useful tool. And I think that we went through the sweet spot in our relationship where she was saying things that were causing me shame, and I was responding to it. Right. I didn't just fall into this self-pity, poor me. Oh my God, I'm not good enough. I'm broken. I think being ashamed is an amazing catalyst for growth. I really do. I think it gets us off of our ass, and it helps us get moving in the right direction. I think it's a mobilizing emotion that gets us going in the right direction. And I agree that you can't live there forever, but I do think it's an amazing fuel source that will rip you off the launching pad to get you going in the direction that you want to get going in. And so when something happens, you can focus more on one of two things. When you feel shame, you can focus on how bad things currently are and how awful it is. Or you can focus on how good things could be. There was this quote that I loved, and it said, imagine how good you could be if you didn't care about how bad you currently are. And I think that's it, right? I think, and maybe there are two different ways people handle this. There's some people that just want to focus on how bad things currently are, and they look at it like, can't win, don't try. This is insurmountable. I can never climb that mountain. And there's another group of people that says, imagine how good this could be if I could fix this. You know, like, what could my life look like if this actually worked? How good that could be. And that was me. I got really, really fired up when I was challenged in those ways. And when Paige was at the point where she was basically about to leave me, she was making preparations for what life would look like without me. And I saw the writing on the wall, man. At some point, we all see that look in our partner's eyes, or that sound in their voice, where you know that they're not even mad and they're done trying. They're just done. They're just done with you. That's where we were. That's where we were at. She was living her life as if we weren't even married anymore. And I saw the writing on the wall. Instead of feeling like, oh, what's wrong with me? I was good enough then. And, you know, poor me. And I didn't have it good growing up. And this is just horrible. And I suck. And I'm never going to be enough. Man, shut up. I don't want to hear that. How good could it be if you didn't focus on that? Imagine how good you could be. Imagine how great things could be when you overcome this. Not if you could, because you can. When you overcome this, how amazing things could be. I want you to focus there. And stop looking at shame as this 4-letter word that we need to shield people from, because it serves a purpose, man. Like, every single time people have leveled up in life, it came from shame in some way. Think about every single time that you've made some massive leap in your life. It was preceded by not wanting to be that person anymore, not wanting to be that version of that person. You got your ass in gear and you mobilized and you made changes that serve you and benefit you and the people that you love. That's just the truth. Every single time in my life I've ever done something that I'm proud of, it came from a place of shame in the beginning. I wouldn't have changed otherwise. I wouldn't have had to. We talked about the region beta paradox. We've talked about this a lot, that people have to incur a certain level of pain before they will make changes. We have to. That's just how we work. I don't know, maybe there's some people that are just more reasonable than that. And at the first sign of someone challenging them or seeing the writing on the wall, they just make adjustments. But I know for a lot of us, especially a lot of guys, that you're going to have to feel pain before you'll change. I had this good friend that used to say time plus pain equals change. And that pain ingredient is very important. And that pain getting high enough, even for a short period of time, will make us change. Or sometimes it's a very small amount of pain for a very long period of time, but the result is still at the end change. And those two ingredients are vital. Like, you are going to have to feel pain, and that comes from feeling the shame. And so I think you need to start focusing on that piece of it when we talk about shame, instead of the poor me, woe is me, falling into that shame spiral. And, it's like emotional blackmail in some ways. It's like when we're looking at the person that we love and we know that we can get to their heartstrings if we start with the shame stuff, if we start to feel the shame, like it becomes manipulative at that point. We start to use it against them so that they'll lay off of us, how hard we had it and how awful things are for us and our childhood and the trauma we've experienced in our lives. And like, you can't do this to me because I feel shame and it drives me to that place. Dude, you are not immune to feeling bad. You are not immune to it. Okay. Being an adult requires that you take that stuff and you metabolize it in a way that gets you moving in the right direction. Don't use it against people, and don't use it as an excuse to stay stuck either. We're going to have to do something useful with this. But I think that that saying, imagine how good you could be if you didn't care about how bad you currently are, it makes people feel tense. Because they think it means self-hatred, but it doesn't. I think we've lumped shame into like one category, and it's just toxic. It's toxic shame. We all know what this looks like. It's like, I am bad. I am broken. There's no fixing this. Can't win, don't try. And that kind of shame collapses people. Healthy shame, on the other hand, one that we need to start recognizing exists, and I don't know, maybe bring it back in some ways. This version of me doesn't work is admitting that something is wrong, but also not beating yourself up. It's not self-deprecating. This is costing me something. Like, I can do better than this. I am better than this. That kind of shame doesn't destroy you. It orients you in the direction that you need to be going. And the problem isn't shame at all. It's the problem is that people panic the moment that they feel it and they don't know what to do with it. And for me, my ego was the biggest roadblock that I had. When shame shows up, the ego scrambles to protect, to survive. Instead of getting curious, it gets defensive, and it explains and it justifies and it minimizes and it turns the spotlight outward onto other people. And this isn't because people are stupid or malicious, I don't think. There are some number of them that are both of those things, or one or the other for sure. But I think for most people, the shame triggers an internal threat, like an alarm that says, if this is true, if what you're saying is true, then who am I? And so the system shuts down. Real change starts in a very specific moment. It's when someone can say, I don't like that. That hurts to admit, but I can't ignore it anymore. And that pause before the defense is where growth lives. Most people never stay there. They rush to make it feel better, make this go away, make it someone else's fault. And in doing so, they miss the signal, the most important thing. Like, feeling bad is not the problem. Being unwilling to feel bad is the problem here. Every upgrade in life requires a temporary hit to your ego. It is going to be okay. Something good will come of this. People who grow aren't immune to shame. Like, they still feel it. They're just willing to sit with it and without letting it decide the next course of action in their life. Like, they don't let it decide what's next for them. And man, I think you should always approach things curiously. This was maybe the biggest mindset shift that I've had in my life, is when I stopped getting defensive about things and I started approaching them as if the person saying, if what they were saying was true, what does this mean? And so this can be my kids bringing something up, right? I'm the sole provider financially in our home, and that requires a lot of work, man, a lot of work. I have to take phone calls after hours. I have to answer emails after hours. I have to check on things, and people call me and they ask me for direction and what I should do here. There's this problem going on. And like, it means that in some ways I have to sacrifice time that I would rather be spending with them. And your kids will call you on this shit, like mine do. And I could easily get defensive and be like, you have no clue what I have to do to pay for your tuition or for, the groceries or all this shit, and like throw it back at them. But what if what they were saying was true? That, Dad, you are not present enough. And what would that mean for me? Get curious about that kind of stuff, man. And I've had some massive moments of like, oh my God, aha. And just approaching things with curiosity. If what someone's saying is true, approach it that way. Even if you disagree with it, accept that if what they were saying is true, what that would mean. Everything, look at everything that way. Every bit of feedback that your spouse is giving you, that your boss is giving you, they're saying it for a reason. It's obviously how they feel. Now, validate that. What if it were true? What if this were actually true? What would it mean for me? Some of your biggest aha moments in growth are going to come from moments like that. It did for me. I know that. When you look at things with curiosity. But in order to do that, you have to set aside your ego and just look at things apart from it in a vacuum. In this circumstance, if this were true, what would it mean? You have to be able to do that. That is a skill that you have to be able to learn and really begin to approach ideas curiously and be curious about what that could mean for you and what you would have to change. And like for me in the instance, like with my kids, it meant that I was going to have to spend less time at work stuff. I mean, I was going to have to delegate more. There's some level of things that I will have to handle, but I was doing a lot more. I was doing a lot more because I hadn't really taken the effort to design my role as such that I wouldn't be pulled away as much. Or even the stuff that we do here. Our kids will call us out for being on their phones or even recording episodes. Like I was called out about an hour ago, like you need to get in here with the family. And like, I can want to be like, like this is something we committed to and like this is get defensive, but what they're saying is like, I want my dad. I want you to be present. And so I'm about to get done with this episode so I can go do that. Approach things with curiosity when your spouse brings them up. Don't let your ego get in the way of the greatest lesson you could possibly learn. All right. This last one is a quote that has been living in my head and I absolutely love. The degree to which someone can grow is directly proportional to the amount of truth they can accept about themselves without running away. I love this because this takes away, like this really distills growth into what it is. It is not some mysterious happening. It is a ratio. It is a ratio. It is proportional to the amount of truth that you can accept about yourself before you run away. We just talked about shame. And I think all these build on each other and that ego piece. How far someone can grow is literally limited to how much truth about themselves that they can accept and stay present with without trying to escape it. And why the word proportional matters. This is very important. Key distinction. It's not saying if you accept truth, you will grow. Or truth guarantees growth. It's saying something far more precise. It's saying that growth scales with truth tolerance. If you can accept a little truth, you can grow a little. If you can accept more truth, you will grow more. If you can accept no truth, you will not grow. That's built into that statement about proportion. And that's true. And that tracks. I think this is a fundamental truth about life and people. Think about your loved one. It's why it's hard sometimes, I think, for spouses and partners to look at their loved one and think that they're a lost cause because like, oh, but they're doing like this thing. Like they're pretty good about this thing. But also recognize that they may be limited by their ability to accept the truth at that level and to scale beyond that. They're incapable until they make some massive internal changes. For some other people, it's easier to see that like they've never even tried to change or do anything different or grow. And it's because they are unwilling to look at any sort of truth. But I am telling you right now, like every moment of my life where I've leveled up in my growth and changing and becoming better, it's because I've been able to accept harder and harder truths about myself. I read the book, Lundy Bancroft's book called Why Does He Do That? It's an inside look at the minds of abusive and controlling men. And I read this book and I saw myself peppered all over the pages in many different parts of that book. And like talk about hard to swallow pills, man. That I wasn't just addicted. I wasn't just going through some shit. I was an abusive person. I was an abusive man. Abusive. And I had to admit that about myself. That is a truth. It's true. But what that meant for me was beginning to really, really understand and correct the parts of me that were most broken within our relationship and within me just as a person. Acknowledging that truth was a massive shift in the way that I look at who I am and what I did those years ago, and how what I need to do in order to correct course moving forward. Like, you have to accept that truth, and be willing to accept that truth requires a massive amount of curiosity, a very low amount of ego. I guess, curiosity, man, an amazing amount of curiosity to look at, could this be true? What if this were true? What would that mean? But it explains why progress, I think, comes in bursts for people too, because people hit a truth and then they grow until it hurts, and then they stall and they stop. And the stall point is essentially their tolerance. That's the tolerance point of the amount of truth that they can accept. Also, accept doesn't necessarily mean agree with. Accepting the truth does not mean you have to like it. It just means you have to accept it. It means you don't deny it, that you're not deflecting it, not demanding that it be softened or the language be changed so it's more digestible for you, or not turning it into someone else's problem. Accepting it is just staying in contact with reality without fleeing from it. And so what running away looks like this can look different for different people. Some people just shut down. Or some people quite literally run away, like they go missing. But it usually looks like people who are trying to justify or defend or explain instead of listening to somebody. They're trying to argue tone instead of the substance of what you're saying to them. They're asking for reassurance instead of changing. They're intellectualizing something without integrating it into their lives, or they're rewriting history in some ways to preserve their comfort. None of that rejects the truth outright. It just refuses to stay with it. I think that we all do this, maybe some of all of these things, whenever we are confronted with these hard to swallow pills about ourselves. And I know for a long time, I was trying to justify and I was trying to contextualize everything instead of just accepting that this thing happened. And I can just look at the definition and say that, yeah, like that happened. I did that. End of story, point blank. And I'll let others decide if they want to contextualize it. But I had to accept the truth. That's a really important distinction too. But I think why truth feels so intolerable for people in the first place is because it forces you to revise your identity about who you really think that you are, or who you are. The space that you hold in your own mind about your identity. It makes us confront that very thing. It's a really scary thing for people. You lose some moral credit, I think, in some ways. I think that you have to admit that like you weren't right in a lot of ways too. So like your ego is harmed here. Like reserving the right to change your mind is one thing, but reserving the right to change your identity is a total other one for people. I think you have to admit that you had blind spots in a lot of areas of your life, and you have to really sit there with some of your past choices. And there's a lot of grief that goes along with that. And it's a really painful thing to do. But truth asks us, who are you if what they're saying is true? Who are you if this thing is true? And that's deep. And that's a tough thing to sit with, man. And that's why so many people don't grow and they don't change. I don't have it in this episode, but when I got this quote, I got really interested in like the big 5 personality traits and what personality traits would give people a better, like what is a better predictor of someone being able to change than not? And I don't want to get into that in this episode because it would derail this and we would be talking about this for the next 2 hours. I'll do this in another episode someday, but it's really fascinating actually to look at the person, like the big 5 personality traits, and like which of those could you look for in someone that would give you a higher likelihood that they would be willing to undergo some massive change. They would be willing to grow. There are some flags you could look at, and there's some flags on the other side that are massive red flags, right? There are green flags, then there are red flags that someone is unwilling to change. And as it turns out, there's a pretty small population of people that carry the personality traits that could tell you that they would be able to change, like that they would willingly change. But luckily these things are malleable and adaptable, and we can alter them with a lot of effort. They can be done, but something, I don't know, I would estimate 5% or less of people that you were walking around every single day would change in the way that would consider like, wow, that's admirable. Like that guy really did the deal. Small amount of people, but it shouldn't stop anyone from trying, because you may not be able to get all the way there, but you can get a long ways up there and make a massive difference in your life and your children's lives and your spouse's life. And it's just, Just because you're not perfect doesn't mean you shouldn't try. I'm not perfect. There's going to be some limit I have at some point, I'm sure. I'm not superhuman. Something will come up at some point, and but I will promise you, I will try my best to barrel through it. But I think a lot of people that question, like, who am I if this is true, just feels really dangerous. And I think that the nervous system kind of activates avoidance, and for many of us. But growth begins where self-deception ends. I've always said that the most dangerous type of deception is self-deception. That is the worst of them all. Deceiving your own self is worse than deceiving other people. I know that sounds crazy because you can think about how bad it is to deceive others, but you think about self-deception, how awful that really is, that you can't even see this. And so not only are you never going to change it, you're going to continue to hurt others too. And through deception, it's awful. But you cannot grow beyond the truth that you are unwilling or refuse to accept. And it's not because you're incapable, it's because that growth requires working with reality, not fantasy of this thing that you wish you were. Reality is the raw material of life, what we have right now, and no amount of effort can compensate for ignoring that. And this has nothing to do with intelligence, by the way, or insight even. Some of the smartest, most articulate people that you know that explain themselves beautifully, and they analyze endlessly, and they can quote psychology fluently, never change. Because insight without acceptance is really a defense. Because growth does not ask, do you understand this? It asks, can you sit with this without running? Can you just sit with this without running, without talking about it, without analyzing it, without explaining yourself? It's not about intellect. It's just about being willing to sit through that pain. That's what I talk about, like that time plus pain equals change. I think it's relevant once again here. Or what is your pain tolerance for dealing with uncomfortable truths about yourself? And that is how much you can grow. And look at your partner. Like, I don't know, maybe you can make this determination right now. Like, how much of that do they have? And I don't know. There's no telling. But in doing this and accepting these things, you will inevitably rebuild trust in your relationship. And I should mention right now that a sponsor of our show is SoberLink. Like, if you're willing to face all these things we talked about, you are no doubt going to reestablish intimacy in your relationships. You're going to really do the deal. But let's talk about like what's most immediate to many of you right now is that this person has lied about their drinking for the last 20 years. And I'm done with this. I am over this. And maybe you've decided to leave. And maybe now they're at the point where we're like, no, wait, stop. I'll do anything. Okay. My question to you is, what's going to be different this time? A tool like SoberLink can be massively vital to this next phase and season of your relationship. If you're really serious about not drinking, why don't you get some support? SoberLink's a really beneficial tool. Not only does it have a network of people that get notified every single time that you use the device so that they know that you're doing the deal, like it gives them assurance. It also gives you people that are supporting you and like they can hold you accountable. It's massive, man. It's massive. But I think for family members, what it really helps them do is it gives them visibility. It gives them that visibility that they've always wanted and that transparency that they've always wanted. Without it, they're just left to assume. And what are they left to assume? Like, we are the makeup of our patterns over time. Trust is lost in buckets and is rebuilt in droplets. And just because you stopped drinking today doesn't erase the last 10 years of you lying about it. So get SoberLink for them, not just for you, but for them. It's a tool that helps them know that you are safe and that you are serious. It's got built-in facial recognition technology so that you can't use like your friend to blow into it. It's tamper-proof, so you can't go in there and modify it so that you can be drunk and blow into it and get negative results every time. This thing is the real deal, and they are industry leader. They are also, you can get these things written into your custody agreements. If you're just trying to make sure that your kids are safe, you can get these things written into your custody agreement so that you can make sure that your kids are with someone who is at the very least sober. And you can rent these things now. It used to be like $500 for a device. Then you had the monthly plan cost. Now you can rent them for as little as $19 a month. You can just rent these things. And since you're an awesome listener of our show, go to soberlink.com/wheels and enter your email address and they'll send you $100. You can apply that to whatever you want. You can buy something like this. This is a recovery rock. Let me cover my face up. It's got our logo on the front and on the back. It says, "Thank you for being my rock." You can use it on Tufo merch. You can use it on the monthly plan costs, like to supplement it. You can pay your bills with it, Amazon, your electric bill, whatever you want, man. They're going to help you out just for being a listener of this show. So again, give SoberLink a shot. This sounds like something you might be in the market for as we talk about trust and what it is to rebuild and feel safe with people again. That's why they're a sponsor of our show. Go to soberlink.com/wheels. So again, as we talk about the capacity to expand and what it means to change and like who can change and who can't, I just want people to know that your truth tolerance is not fixed. It can change, but it only grows whenever you're willing to, I guess, accept that like the truth is not going to crush you. It's not going to kill you. You will not be destroyed by the truth. And that experiences repair after mistakes. You can have more good, positive experiences that override the pain of all the past. We are living proof of that it can be done. That stuff never completely goes away, but it dilutes over time when you have more positive experiences than negative ones. Like spouses and partners ask us all the time, like, how do you trust again? When they're trustworthy over a long period of time, there's not a secret to it. There's no magic trick here. When they show that they're trustworthy for longer or about the same amount of time that they were untrustworthy, you will trust again. It does not happen overnight. It does not happen the first time they showed you that they're trustworthy. It's over repeated times. Many, many, many times you will start to feel safe again, like they are someone that you can trust. But also I think that when you begin to build emotional regulation, which is a lot of what we talk about on the show, you will begin to expand your truth tolerance. And also whenever you stop equating exposure with annihilation, like the fact that you've brought this out should not destroy you. It should make you curious. So each time that you stay present without running away from something, your capacity expands and it grows, and it raises your growth ceiling. Like this is the bones of what growth truly made of. It's your ability to sit there with uncomfortable truths about yourself without running from them. And that is what keeps people from growing. And that is why some people grow to outstanding lengths, is because they're able to do that. They're able to look at those hard truths. Growth does not stop because people don't want it. I think a lot of us want growth. It stops because the truth gets heavier than what they're willing to carry. That's it. It gets to a certain point and I don't want to do this shit anymore. This is too much. We crossed a threshold that I am uncomfortable with, and they stagnate and they just stay there. It's for the people, for you amazing, beautiful sickos out there who are willing to keep going and keep pushing and keep hearing more uncomfortable truths and what you would do with them. You know, how do I set aside my ego and shame and just listen to this? And what do I do with this? And what's next for me? The moment you stop running from it is when you start to get better. And it's when growth capacity increases. And so there's no magic sauce to this. Sit with those uncomfortable truths and do something with them. That is what you do. That is how you grow. That is how you change. Accept uncomfortable truths about yourself over and over and over again. And I have yet to find any that are too heavy for me. I have yet to find a single one that's too heavy, and I'm still standing, and I like me. You know, I think my kids like me. I think my wife likes me. There's something to this, man. Like, you don't have to, you're not destroyed. You will not be annihilated when you start to accept truth. You will get better. You just have to be willing to do it. Set your ego aside. Your ego is fragile. If this is hurting you, you have to set it aside. But growth is not rare because it's complicated. It is not complicated. It's rare because it's expensive. And what I mean by that, it's expensive in the sense that it costs you the identity that you've been protecting for all these years. The degree to which you can grow will always be limited to how much truth you can accept about yourself without doing that, without running away from it. I hope this has been helpful. Hope this has been a fun one for you, the listener. Hope that you've gotten something from it that you can take with you into the next week and do something with. I hope that if you're someone who had this idea that you should never have to change, that you rethink that. I hope that you rethink shame and its usefulness and utility in your life. And I hope that you look at growth as something that anyone can be capable of, as long as you're willing to sit with some uncomfortable truths and understand that, like, you're not a bad person. You're not a bad person. Maybe you've done bad things, but you are not bad. You could be good. You can change that right now. You can get better, but it will not start until you accept the things you've done and sit with that and feel the pain. And it will hurt, and it's okay, but it's not going to kill you. It's going to be okay. I love you. I'm sure you got people in your life who still love you, and you should love you too. So until next time, I'm Matt, and I'll see you.